Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Okay, so we should be live on both feeds at this time. I see I've got a lot of headspace up here. I didn't know that, but this camera seems to be working all right. But I think I got where I can kind of look and see both of these images. Hi, I'm John Johnson. This is House of Horrors, which is the largest production that Darkstone has done to date, which is a monster mashup, the Wolfman, Frankenstein, Dracula, Invisible Man, all merged into one movie, fighting each other, or maybe not fighting each other, maybe working together in peace and harmony. It's going to be like a whole thing. And to do that, I'm doing a lot of research back into the old movies and comic books and novels and things to that degree, to kind of research each monster so that each monster is represented fully in the film. So we've done Frankenstein's monster, we did Creature from the Black Lagoon, we did Hyde, we did the Wolfman, we did Invisible Man. Is that it? I think that's it. And now we're on the Mummy, and which there's quite a bit of. So if you want to check out the list of where you can see all the movies and stuff and comic books and books, if you want to read along with me and talk about it as we talk about it on this show, you can do that at House of Horrors, Facebook /House of Horrors. You can check that out there and kind of see what we're talking about. The movies we're going to be talking about today is the Mummy 1932, the Mummy 1999, the Mummy's Hand, the Mummy 1959, and the Mummy's Tomb.
Johnny, may I interrupt for 1 second?
Yes.
Do you mind that you are upside down?
I'm upside down
you have to
on
the phone, but the phone image is upside down on the screen. So.
Oh, well,
but
all right.
It's still cool, you know.
They don't want to. All right,
like,
guys.
How are you keeping that hat on when you're upside down?
All right. Let's see if I can make this work. Technical difficulties, everybody.
And that was, I was going to tell you, but John Birmingham is watching, and he said so too.
I thought I was being. All right. So this is kind of the new angle, which I have to keep going back and forth between the two.
All right, I'll refresh it. Hopefully
it should be fine. Sorry about that, guys. I thought I was being smart, and well, it wasn't. But yeah, I've been doing this for, wow, I've been doing this for since 2012 or 2013. I started this. It's been about 2 years I've been doing this research, but it's getting sped up because there's been a couple companies that have shown an interest in my script that want to represent the film. So we're going to be 2017 actually writing the script and having it shopped, which is the first script I've ever done that with, which is kind of exciting because it'll be happening around the same time as Plan 9 getting its physical DVD release in early 2017. So it's kind of a big kind of cool time. But I got to get through a lot of movies to do that. So we're going to get to your comments that we had before from the previous shows, and we'll try to get caught up on that. And I'll talk about the movies. I'll start with the first movie, which is just a brief recap. I talked about it a little bit in the last House of Horrors, which is the Mummy 1932. This is kind of more rare than I thought it would be because it's actually one of the ones that only deals with Imhotep, which most of the Mummy movies that I have encountered don't deal with Imhotep. They deal with Caris, I believe is how you say his name, which is the more popular one. Imhotep is more of a sorcerer. Like, he's got the abilities like magic powers and stuff like that. And in the 1999 remake with Brendan Fraser, he had all kinds of powers. Where Caris is more of the mummy that we know, which is the slow dragging. Well, he's not undead. I found that out. He's not undead. We'll get into that in a little bit. But the slow kind of bandaged ghoul monster, which is that mummy, which is the one that most people know. But yeah, it's Boris Karloff as Imhotep. It was very cool. I definitely suggest it if you guys haven't seen it. It's a little bit more of like, he's like a Dracula kind of character. You can tell that they were influenced by Dracula a whole lot, where he was trying to like seduce a girl to like get to have his end means, that kind of a thing. Also, just to let you guys know, this is Alyssa Lauer, my assistant and co-host, who will be helping me get through all your questions and stuff like that. The one thing I should definitely say is on this live feed right now, some of the when comments come really, really fast, and it doesn't allow us until the video is posted for us to go back and look at them. So if we don't get to your questions on this, we will definitely be getting it to them on the next episode. So that'll definitely be something that we're doing. So Alyssa, first question.
Okay, first question is one of the older questions that we didn't get to. It's from Tom Smith, and here are just a few. Or here's just a for fun question. It's certainly not to be taken seriously as a mummy film, but have you seen Mummy Raider starring Misty Monday? It's a seduction cinema film which parodies Tomb Raider.
I have not seen. What is it called? I remember Misty Monday. Mummy Raider. I remember Misty Monday. She was a pretty big deal in like the 2004, 2005 on the straight-to-video circuit with, was it E Cinema? Seduction Cinema, but I think it was owned by, I can't remember. But she was definitely somebody who was making a big noise when I first got my first movie released. But no, I haven't seen it, but I'm interested. Well, the e-cinema was weird. It was like it wasn't exactly porn, but they just kind of go softcore as soft and titillacious as they possibly can, whatever that means. Titillacious. But no, I haven't seen it, but I'll check it out eventually. We probably won't get on the list because this, if you guys can see, is the list of my curriculum that I'm going through over the next month. But I'm only 5 movies in right now.
And there always seems to be some add-on you find out about.
There's actually there's actually a 6th movie that I have done in this time without knowing it was a mummy movie, which I'll bring up. I saw X-Men Apocalypse, which I was familiar with the character Apocalypse from the cartoon X-Men. I never really read X-Men too much, but it really is a mummy story, especially Imhotep. He was old ancient Egyptian that had a bunch of abilities. He got buried. And over time, he survived all that, and then some people dig him up, and he starts causing mayhem, and he's got all these abilities and powers. It's definitely he's definitely influenced by the Mummy, I would think, more than anything else. But without knowing it, the new X-Men movie kind of fits as a Mummy movie, as just happenstance. What you got for me, Alyssa?
All right. This is one of the older questions from Stephen Har.
Stephen,
if you can make a solo mummy movie, would it, or parts thereof, follow the traditional story, or would you change the story completely to follow your own vision? I.e., the mummy would be some cult leader, religious priest, some sort of voodoo sacrifice, or some schmuck buried in ancient Indian burial ground for 50 years, from 50 years ago, who was forced to be buried the traditional mummy way.
Well, if I was to do a mummy standalone film, I would definitely do something completely off topic and kind of come up with my own thing, mainly because the standard mummy movie has been done a lot, and it doesn't change a whole lot in its structure, even to the fact of the sequels, the Carice mummy movies. They don't vary a whole lot. They're very much like there's a guy who brings him back. You've messed up the tomb. We're gonna come get you. So like they go get him and kill off those who like mess with the tomb. So I would definitely do something different than that if I were to do my own mummy movie. I can definitely say one of the hiccups that I'm having right now is that I was thinking about a female mummy more than a male. But now I hear that the Universal Tom Cruise movie is actually doing a female mummy as well. So I will see, but I was thinking more female for House of Horrors, mainly to kind of diversify a little bit, because it is a lot of dudes. it is a sausage fest. So we thought we'd throw some buns in there.
Mummy husky dog.
A mummy husky dog. I don't know if husky does Egyptians have a dog? Is there an Egyptian dog? They got a lot of cats.
They do the cat. They even have cat god. But
yeah, they got a few of those.
Oh, isn't it Anubius? Is the
Anubius.
dog?
Oh,
the dog,
oh yeah.
The kind of dog looking.
Well, maybe that was a werewolf that once was a mummy. That's something. All right, what else you got?
Okay. I'm going to do a current one before it rolls away, and it's from John Birmingham, and he wants to know, will you be filming in black and white or color? Color.
There'll be some hints to black and white. There'll be some saturated scenes, I would say. But I'll probably be sticking to color just to kind of take that modern take on it. But it would be cool to do a black and white movie. I just don't think this is the one for it. Just because we want to be able to market it as far and wide as we can, and color seems to still have that power. All right, so hi guys.
Oh, not again.
It's because I reset it. We're gonna see if we can put you back up here where it's somewhat safe. Well, that's an odd angle, but why not? So the next movie I'll talk about is the Mummy 1999 with Brendan Fraser, which was a pretty straightforward remake of the Emotep. Well, it was kind of a remake of all the Mummy movies kind of put together, because the not swashbuckling, but the dual pistol digger action oriented sequences were definitely taken from the later Mummy movies, where the main storyline of Emotep trying to raise Nanoxamoon and all that kind of jibber jabber was definitely from the original storyline, but they added a lot to or took a lot from the sequels. But it's definitely a good. This is bugging me. There we go. Maybe that'll hold. Probably fall, but we're gonna try not to collapse again. But yeah, so it's definitely a really good remake. It takes the same basic story, kind of puts its own spin on it. It's definitely more of a horror movie than you would expect. A lot of the sequels to The Mummy are just straight up action movies, where this one really kind of stuck with the horror aspect, which is kind of cool. It did definitely paid attention to its origins, which is great in a remake. All right, what you got for me?
Okay, these are some of the scrolling comments that disappeared
from this feed last time that we couldn't keep up with.
Yeah, we couldn't. So first one was from Monique Dupree.
Monique.
She said, "What the hell?"
Well, she's probably talking about Donald Trump. And I don't know. I have no answers, except like just people thought it was funny, and now it's like a real thing. Like,
it's crazy.
It's kind of crazy. So I'm guessing that's what you were talking about. What else we got?
We have from Kenneth Tabor.
Kenneth.
He has a question. In the original Mummy, I like the idea that he was only really the mummy at the beginning. Then he had the hollowed out look. Yeah,
it was definitely like the Dracula portrayal of the Mummy. He started off as the mummified corpse, but then he became this more seductive kind of. They did this like glowy thing with his eyes, like they did with Dracula, where he's was definitely more infiltrating humans versus a monster opposed to humans, which is a lot of the sequels. They went that way. But yeah, I definitely, it was interesting, that take of the Mummy, and I like that idea, especially with the flip idea of a female, because a female obviously can seduce men a lot easier than men can seduce women. It's just the nature of things. And so why not have a more Egyptian-looking female wreaking havoc versus just the old guy and the. But you know, that was my first idea. I don't know if I'll be sticking to it. I'm not writing the script for probably another year or less. No, less than a year.
Really?
Well, I got it. It's right after Xmas for Trauma. I'm doing it in probably April. I'm probably writing it. Yes, April. Good God. Okay, so we got a lot of movies to watch. What else you got?
Monique Dupree says, I can.
I think that was a comment about we were seeing if this was working.
Oh, I was thinking maybe it was fill in the blank.
I can fly. I can poop.
Then we got a thumbs up from Scott Richter.
Scott.
Yay. Kenneth Tabor.
Kenneth.
In the original, when Helen was walking that dog, I laughed my ass off when it wouldn't listen. No wonder they killed it off.
Oh, yeah. They were definitely having trouble with that dog. But the cat murdered the dog.
Oh.
In the original film, a cat god-like creature. It was a white cat that was like a god-like thing that just ran into the room with the dog, and then you hear the dog yelping.
Oh.
So, and then they tell the dog's dead. So the weird part about the original Universal Emotep film is that there was a lot more influence by the gods. Like even to the fact that I think the gods destroyed Emotep at the end because he was just not doing things right, and so they ended him. So that was kind of an interesting idea. What else you got?
All right, we have Scott Richter asks, how's Transfers coming?
Oh, well, Transfers is done from beginning to end. It has been submitted to Charles Band over Full Moon about 3 months ago, and we have not heard anything since. They have not told us yay, they have not told us nay, but we're just in waiting mode. I'm supposed to call them again first of the week to see if they've had a chance to look at the pitch pilot for Transfers to see if they like it, but we're just kind of waiting to find out.
What's not to like? It's good.
Well, I don't think they've watched it. I think it's kind of unordinary. Usually people will submit scripts which they won't look at because they don't want to like look at somebody's script and then make a movie that's similar to that script where people will be like, hey, that was my idea, and then they got to defend themselves, so they just don't look at scripts at all. But we handed them a finished product to see, based on like as a pitch, based on some of their actual material and their work. So we'll see how that goes because it's kind of unheard of, as most of my career. What you got?
All right. Kenneth Tabor.
Kenneth.
The original felt like a bit of a Dracula remake in a sense.
Mm-hmm. It did. They definitely were trying to do Dracula again with Emotep until when they got to the sequels, they just kind of cut all that off. They don't even talk about it. They drop all that part of the series and then just kind of start anew with the bandage wraps and the terrible and the scary and all that kind of stuff, which I will talk about The Mummy's Hand, which is the first one of that series. Yeah, I mean, you could definitely tell that the Brendan Fraser 1999 version was based on this a little bit, where like they had more of an action adventure kind of a thing. There is a moment though that I thought was hilarious, which was they get into a bar fight, and before one punch is thrown, this one Egyptian walks up to their table and just plops down on it with his head. And when he stands back up, he draws a knife. So I don't know what move or like kung fu martial art kind of Egyptian battle that was. But he just walked in, face planted, stood back up, and drew a knife screaming, which I guess is a tactic that works for them. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. But the film was fun, and it definitely was the beginning of the Mummy franchise that we know, where the Emotep Boris Karloff was kind of like a one-shot with Caris. What you got?
All right, we have from Guess Who? Kenneth Tabor.
Good man.
One of the biggest differences between the 1932 Mummy and the 1999 Mummy was in the 1932, he actually seemed to welcome cats. In the 1999, he was extremely afraid of them.
Yeah, they really worked in the white cat twice. I mean, the white cat was essentially the embodiment of a god in the Emotep version that killed the dog that he kind of prayed to. And in the 99 version, they really wanted to keep the white cat in it, so they had it as like like garlic to a vampire. It's like this cats have a foot in the grave and they're partially with a foot in hell or paw, and so they were deterrent to the mummy until he became his full power. I'm not entirely sure what the mummy or that cat could have done to the mummy with all of his abilities. So like maybe if he just touched it, it would die. So I don't know why they
Scratch your claws on all the
just throw
fabric.
the cat at the mummy versus just holding it up saying, "Here's a kitty," and the mummy goes, "Whoa," and it turns into sand and disappears. So that would, I don't know what their plan was. But it was cool to see that they brought in that imagery from the original, which was nice. What you got?
Okay, I'm going to go with the current question from Tom Gore. Why never the mummy's foot or even the heart of the mummy?
Well, we haven't made it yet. They've got the mummy's ghost, which is there was Frankenstein's monster who had the ghost of Frankenstein, so they were just following that. Mummy's tomb and hand. I'm actually not entirely sure because the mummy's hand, there was no talk of a hand, like at all, or the mummy's hand. The mummy's tomb, they talk about the tomb, but I don't know why it's called the mummy's hand. Like, there's no talk of a hand ever. Maybe it got cut out like with Lex Luthor's plot in Batman vs Superman. It just all got wiped out in one big swoop. So next on the list was The Mummy 1959. Ooh, apparently when people call me, it jitters the phone.
Oh.
Hi guys. So the 1959 was the Hammer film Mummy, where Christopher Lee played Caris. He wasn't Imhotep, which I always thought he was a remake of the Imhotep version, but it wasn't. It was more of the sequels of the Mummy that we all seem to know, as the more standard Mummy. Mummy Came in My House. But it was great. I mean, it's Peter Cushing fighting Christopher Lee. You can't beat that. That's just film gold. The other thing too that I noticed in the Universal films and the Christopher Lee movies is that nobody is alive if you are in your 20s. As in, all the couples who are just meeting and falling in love and getting married, they're all in their 30s. Like there's no young people in these movies. Everybody's older, but just now meeting somebody and falling in love. So that's when before the world had Tinder, it was very difficult to meet somebody, and you might not meet anyone until you're way in your 30, 35, 36, and then you meet the girl that you're going to fall in love with. But now that we have Tinder, you could be 10.
But you also back then, everybody seemed a lot older than they were.
Oh, maybe that was it. Maybe that's part of it.
Everybody always seemed like, a 19-year-old really seemed like they were. Well,
they were under such hot lights too that they put so much cake makeup on. They were almost like mortician wax, like that they're already dead. But yeah, it was interesting. And the same thing when Peter Cushing was like supposedly a young man with a receding hairline that went back to like mine, and he played the son of the kooky crazy guy who's digging up all the mummies. But yeah, it's interesting on the age range, which because now you look at movies and everybody looks like they're 10. So we need to take that back. We need to find a happy middle ground somewhere between the old classic style and the tweeny style that we live in today. What else you got for me?
All right, we have this from Josh Kearney. The Monster Squad had a mummy in it, and this is, I think he went back when we were talking about other mummy suggestions.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll definitely be doing. Well, I'll talk about Monster Squad as a monster mashup because it is one of the greats, especially of that time period. I did find one because we have a versus section that we're doing before that, which I was worried that there wasn't that many of them. There's Dracula versus Frankenstein, and Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, but I didn't know if there were any more. But apparently there is a movie that came out about a year ago or 2 years ago called Frankenstein versus the Mummy, and it's just their faces. I've never seen it. I won't watch it till we get through. Next is Dracula, and then Bride, and then we'll get to versus films. So I'm excited to see that. So yeah, that'll be kind of fun. So that'll be a hard list to do of just the 2 monsters fighting each other versus 3 or more monsters altogether. Last movie on my list is The Mummy's Tomb, which is part 3 in the Universal series. The coolest part about this was the characters from the original film have got aged. They were older, and the Mummy basically killed all them off. And this is also the first time that Lon Chaney Jr. played the Mummy. He was still Carice. He's still the same guy from the prequel, who is not dead. He is not undead. The concept is that he was put into a tomb that was easily accessible, and they would drip 3 drops of fluid in his mouth every full moon, which would keep him in a stable, non-dying state for eternity. But he just slowly decays over, I think they said 4,000 years. And then they put 9 drops in when they want him to get up and go kill people. Oh, excuse me. Demons. But then if he had more than 9 drops, he becomes like this unstoppable monster that's uncontrollable. Why they have not done that in the series, I don't know. They keep talking about it. It's like if he drinks 10 drops, he's gonna fucking kill everybody. So let's not do that. Let's just keep giving him 9, and he never becomes this unstoppable monster. So I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet. And maybe it does in The Ghost, which I think is the last one. Oh no, there's a Mummy Curse, so there's another one. Yeah, this has a lot of sequels. Maybe the most. I know Frankenstein had 4, so I think the Mummy's got 5. So this actually might have the most sequels of any of the franchises, which is interesting. I don't know why they chose this one to do more. Maybe it was more popular than the other ones, because it definitely doesn't seem like the Mummy is as popular now as Dracula and Frankenstein. But at the time, it seems like they made more sequels out of it. So I don't know. What else you got for me?
Where does the tunnel leaves come in that movie?
That's what they make the drops
That's
from.
What the drops are from?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we have something from Scott Richter. The Living Mummy in Marvel Comics, part of the Howling Commandos.
Oh, yeah.
They have other monsters, too.
Yeah, there's Agents of Shade, which has Frankenstein's monster and then a mummy, and it's kind of a monster mashup. I've read one of the comics, the first trade I read when I was doing Frankenstein's monster, but I will come back to the second trade when I do the monster mashup, because I didn't know it was a monster mashup when I first looked at it. But no, he'll be coming back on me. Wait.
All right, and then we have something from Brad P. Thompson.
Brad P. Thompson.
Brad P., not just Brad Thompson.
He has a powerful P.
Thompson, exactly. He suggests waxwork.
I don't know if I'll be doing. I know Waxwork has a mummy in it. I don't know if I'll be doing that because it doesn't have any of the other monsters, and it's not quite the actual monster. It's like a piece of an artifact that resurrected. The wax mimics the monster versus the actual monster. But I know there's a vampire, and I know there's a wolf man, and the sequel has Frankenstein's monster in Waxwork 2. Well, maybe I'll go back and watch them anyway, just because I love those movies. What you got?
Brad P. Thompson.
Brad P. Thompson.
Besides Waxwork, there's an odd movie on my list called The Robot versus the Aztec Mummy. And then he also includes a link to that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll check that out.
Yeah, he includes a link.
That's cool.
So that is on the page. We have something from Scott Richter.
Scott?
What did you think of Victor Frankenstein movie?
Oh, I liked it. The new one that was just in the theater with McAvoy. Not McAvoy. Yeah, McAvoy.
James McAvoy?
Yeah. No, that was great. And Harry Potter. He was Igor. What the hell's his name? Harry Potter. Oh, well. So if somebody knows what his name was, it's the Potter boy.
Weird thing is I'm not getting any comments no matter how many times I'm refreshing.
I don't think anybody's commenting.
I don't know.
On the new one. The last one I got on my screen is
so you're not
Birmingham.
Them either?
Mm-mm.
Strange.
No, we got people watching, but they're not. They're not. They're just checking it out.
Okay.
That's cool.
That's all right.
It's cool. It's fine.
Don't be shy.
Yeah. So that was a great movie. Really enjoyed it. I didn't know how much of a prequel it was to the book. But once you kind of figure all that out, it's really, really cool. That it kind of leads, then like the sequel would be the story that we all kind of know, which is cool. Let's see, that's it for movies. The next I'll be watching before the next show next week will be The Awakening, 1980, The Mummy's Ghost, and The Pyramid. I'll be checking those out and talking about those. So if you guys want to watch those and talk about them with me, that'd be amazing. Do we have any more comments?
We have still the older ones.
Okay.
Brad P. Thompson. There is one where he fights a robot, which I think was the
robot version. Yeah. I'm interested in that just because maybe that'll be a weird one in the versus films because I don't have a lot. I'm not gonna have a lot of versus films.
Yeah, Mummy doesn't seem like much of a fighter. Another from Scott Richter. Just the first game, but Night Warriors cartoon. There's a Wolfman or Frankenstein monster, Mummy, Dracula.
Oh, I'm not too familiar with that. I'll have to check that out, but that'll go on the monster mashup, which I'm sure will have a lot to go. When there are 3 or more monsters, we're gonna have tons of them. I see we've got a comment. John Birmingham, have you ever shown a vagina in a movie? Yes, but not the taco. The bush. I think in Skeleton Key 2, 667 Neighbor of the Beast, my girlfriend leaves me for a lesbian, and I go insane, and in a dream sequence, I think that I'm now a woman, and they pull up my britches to show, and I've got no penis, and we had a stand-in. There was a take where we actually took my dick and my balls, and we pulled them back behind my legs.
Made a mangina.
And made a mangina. But it just looked awful. So then we had one of the girls stand in and actually do like an actual vagina because that just was a little prettier and kind of funnier. Well, I don't know, maybe the mangina would have been funnier, but it was a terrible sight that nobody wanted to see. So yes, in theory. And then in the Jester, there's a girl taking a shower. You see her from the bottom down. So a couple times. You can check out some of my films and go look for vaginas.
Fear Fighter wasn't.
Well, the original Fear. Now that it's cut on YouTube, we don't see it anymore. We did see one. If you had been on Flicksphere when it first got released, you would have seen one. So yeah, every once in a while we get a taco.
Rhonda Hickens said
Daniel
Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe, that's who it is.
Yeah. How do we not remember that?
But this is Potter Boy.
Strange.
Pity Potter Puda. Is that it for?
No, so just a couple of more. This
couple
is
more?
when we were going off the air last time.
Oh, okay.
Tom Gore says, no, don't go. Scott Richter said, cheers. David Rhodes, good to see ya. Or David Rode, I'm sorry. John E. Johnson.
That's my dad.
That's your dad. He said, yes.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know.
Maybe he could have been just starting to watch the video and not know that it was live. And said when Monique said I can, like as if, can you guys hear me? Is it working? This is our first time, and then maybe that was it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Joel Bass says I'm in.
Thank you, Joel. I'm guessing mayonnaise. You're in a big tub of mayonnaise.
Delicious. Dean Lotch. Maybe you'll have a light comedy nod to Bella doing a vampire.
Yeah, I called it Plan 9. You should check it out. It's on VOD. It's everywhere.
I think. Let me do a quick check.
Is that it? Are we caught up?
Wait a minute. Oh no, we have some questions.
Oh.
Woo! Milos Bukaraka.
Is that how you say?
I don't know if I'm saying that right, but
she says it's so fun. It's more fun.
I finally found and watched my D Stone movies.
Oh,
yay!
Well, good.
Is there a release date set for Skeleton Key 3 Part 2? See, I still stumble over.
Yeah. She was the slate person for Skeleton Key 3 Part 2, and so she's always like Skeleton Key feet click. It was maybe I'll put that in the bloopers. Just you trying to say that. Oh
my God, there was like a million of them.
Yeah, the movie's sold. They have it. It's going to Maxim Media. Brain Damage, as all the other ones had gone to. We're delivering all the deliverables now. I think I got 35 more days to get them everything, and then they will put a release day on it. It's primarily VOD. I think it's going to be available on disc only through Amazon. But I think it'll be on VOD in a lot of places. But they haven't given me an exact date yet, but I will definitely know that soon. I know on the 16th, we're doing the commentary, so that's like one of the last things we're doing. So we're getting it all done. One of the most difficult things that has to be done is the movie's being dubbed. And so Alyssa did this for Plan 9, where you have to go through the script and literally put a timestamp like this line is said at this point in time. But when I was in Poland and they were screening Plan 9, they have the regular big screen that they normally have, and then underneath of it they have a smaller screen for subtitles, because Poland, I think, watches a lot of foreign films. Just being in Europe, they're everywhere. Yeah. And so Alyssa's hard work went there. Now the problem with Skeleton Key is that these are ad-lib movies, so a script has to be written from scratch. But I don't think she's the only one doing it. I think it's getting divided up into 3 people doing, was it 45 minutes? What's 2 hours divided by 3? I don't know. It's a thing.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're getting divided into thirds so they can actually get through that horrible, horrible process. And that has to get done. But I got 35 days, I think, from now to get everything done and turned in. And then they'll give me a release date. That's a long-winded way to answer that, but I did it.
And you didn't even finish the whole question.
What was the whole question?
There's still more.
Oh, no.
Also, there's an episode of the original Dragon Ball which has a mummy character who works for an old fortune teller. She also has the Invisible Man and a vampire working for her.
Oh, I'm guessing this is not Z. This would be Dragon Ball. I've seen the Yamcha saga in Dragon Ball, a little bit of the Piccolo, the Red Ribbon Army, and I have not seen Tien. So I am going back and trying to watch those because I did enjoy them. And I feel like it's just something I need to do because I had never finished Dragon Ball Z. I kind of stopped in the Majin Buu saga, so I need to finish that up. But I've seen everything else of Dragon Ball Z. I've never seen GT, which most people tell us not to, but I got I don't know. I got to do my due diligence, as you can tell by when I watch the Mummy movies. But yeah, eventually I'll check that out. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. What you got?
Okay, Tom Gore. How is the spirit of the mummy destroyed after its bandages have been unwound?
Well, it's weird. It's like it depends. Each mummy is completely different. In fact, they pretty much don't die. They just get resurrected. But I think once the body's destroyed, their soul just kind of goes to purgatory, I would imagine, because it doesn't seem like they go to heaven or hell, because that was kind of taken away from them when they were cursed. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting though, because like the mummy gets defeated, he gets burned, a god smites him, he gets made mortal and stabbed and thrown into the black goo. Like they're very like wild about how they destroy the mummy in every movie. There isn't really a set way that this is how you do it. So I don't know. Maybe more of these movies I'll figure it out.
Okay, we have another question from Tom Gore. Why do some curses of the mummy convert victim to stone while others die of the plague or old age or other disease?
I figure it's alcohol. You see, when I'm reading from a piece of paper and I'm getting my curses right, every once in a while I fidge a word, maybe 1, maybe 2, and that would change the spell. Or it's just multiple spells that like it depends on the crime that you committed and how much they actually want to punish you, and what they would need, because every time they create a mummy, especially in the later movies, they're always using it for some purpose to like do terrible. So maybe they create the mummy that they want from what they want to that suits best their evil means, perhaps
or perhaps not.
Or perhaps not. Or it just could be fidgeting with the words and fucking up, and now you've got a semen mummy.
Oh, all right. I just refreshed. It might be our last.
Are we all good?
Well, I don't know. Wait.
Well, we can.
Still refreshing.
All right, we're going. One more.
All right, let's see. Hold the computer.
Deet, dee, 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 dee. Okay, guys, that's the end of the show. Whatever we missed, we'll catch on the next one. I'll be back on 9 o'clock next Thursday talking about The Awakening, 1980, The Mummy's Ghost, and The Pyramid. I'll probably go over some of the old ones again as well, just kind of recap as I normally do. This has been Alyssa handling your questions. There's been random pussy all through here. Other than just Alyssa, there's been cats and things running around. But thanks, guys, for watching, and I will be checking you on the next one. If you want to see the rest of my list, go to Facebook /House of Horrors and check it all out. All right, guys. Dee 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 dee.